YouTube comments from a video titled, How a 1/8-acre garden feeds a family of 6 all year. Part 1.
At Antioch All Trades wrote,
This 1/8-acre garden is proof that homesteading can be incredibly practical. Want to know what isn't practical? Getting an alpaca. We just dropped a brand new video debunking the myths about these fuzzy, high-maintenance animals. Check it out here. On YouTube.b.
At Ed2595 wrote,
I have 250 M2, which is 0.6 acre or 1/16 of an acre, but I only need to feed 2 people. Storage is still a bit of a concern. Working on that. My pumpkins last months.
At Ladyakar4245 wrote,
Try planting hairy vetch as a winter cover crop. You can sow your corn right over it, and it adds a nitrogen punch in May and June. Plus keeps weeds out.
At CatFrancis1230 wrote,
I just got an idea that might work for getting the beans fully dry and shelling them at the same time. Is to tie them up in a pillowcase and throw the pillowcase full of beans in the laundry dryer to tumble for a couple cycles. Do you think that would work?
At HaleyHash4783 wrote,
Wow, I am so inspired by you both. Love the mindsets. We need more people like this helping people mothers figure out how to provide like this for their family and home.
At Jessica Shaner wrote,
I have been playing violin for 18 years. I have never gardened. I look at all the fruit of this labor, and I want to be where you are right now without going through all the trial and error, and I know it's not going to be like that. Let's give it a try.
At Honeybee52000 wrote,
2146 shout out to the videographer. Every shot has been stellar, but a gardener especially appreciates the vastly different barefoot and short pants and shoes walking transition clip. Well done.
The Ardor wrote,
Wanting to know about amounts to plant to yield this much produce how many seed potatoes, broccoli seeds, etc. I also have a family of 6 and want to try feeding my family from my garden. Thanks.
At Terry Baker 5784 wrote,
What variety of broccoli was she growing? And when did she plant and harvest? And how often did she fertilize and with what fertilizer? I know that's a lot of questions, but I love broccoli and I have never grown it that big.
At KWBH 7142 wrote,
Such a great video. I just love the organization of planting and such. I use Azure Standard also. They are the best in products and customer service. Great video. Thanks so much.
At VM Gardens wrote,
I haven't tried this myself, but recently saw a video of a gardener who grew sweet potatoes in a large mulch pile wood chips. Not soil. I'm gonna try it next year.
At Nanospace 2994 wrote,
I love radishes, but where I'm from we have many variants from some mild meh to spicy and crispy ones having similar kick like horseradish. We eat it raw, in salads especially with lettuce, cucumbers, chives, cream, and a little bit of seasoning like salt. Pepper, dill. We ferment it and add radishes to dishes like cold beet soup Klodnik-Lipsky, which is great in summer heat, or combine them with different types of white cheese like cottage cheese, curd or quark. Radishes go really well with dill leaves imho.
At Shelby wrote,
In this day and time, when massive with permanent layoffs are on the horizon due to AI robotics, it is genius level to own one's own farm, know how to preserve and have plentiful solar security and power surge back up. I would just add a Faraday cage system over the cold room, a garage, an electronic backup room for appliances new in boxes in case of EMP appliance/vehicle loss. Also, weapon training. It is coming faster than you think. Someone will come ailing and just take it.
Jennifer Ayers E3G wrote,
People need to start reporting about the bug issues because everyone can plant everything. But if you don't deal with the bugs, you're going to lose everything. Do you ladies have any trouble with chemtrails where you're at?
Mrs. Tirush wrote,
Watching this, I feel so completely defeated. I have an acre of which about 1/2 is available for farming. I've tried very hard to grow my own food, but I have 3 things that destroy any hope. 1. I live in Florida, and it's almost impossible to get crops to live through either the extreme heat or the annual freezes down to 20, too. I can easily grow tomatoes, but every single fruit gets infested with stink bugs before they are ready to harvest and become inedible. There's literally nothing that can get rid of stick bugs. 3. This is the most important one. We aren't able to have basements, root cellars, or even cold rooms because of the nature of our limestone ground. The only way for us to have a cold room would be to actually build an extension or a separate building and add refrigeration. I'm a widow on Social Security. I am utterly defeated now. I think I'm going to have to give up. All the time and money that has been invested in my garden only to have it fail year after year.
At Eichbaum, our 3C wrote,
Hi, I hope you read this. I garden as well. I've come across Higultur. Amazing. I know how hot year becomes. You start them in the fall, so you have lots of time to collect the materials if you prepare early. I hope this is helpful. Have a nice summer.
Chavs ADV wrote,
We started doing 25 gallons grow bags with a soil mix with vermiculite and perlite for our sweet potatoes. This makes it so easy to harvest and it drains well. It adds to the watering needs, but it saves you time on harvest. We dump them on a tarp, pull the potatoes, and dump the soil back in.
Casey Crafts Ansos wrote,
After one night of about 24 deer standing in my yard, the next morning everything will be eaten completely down to the ground. They eat my roses with huge thorns before they bloom. They eat our trees and any plant the same day we plant. We had to stop planting even in pots. They destroyed it all, and all that money gone over and over.
At Amanda Hall 667 wrote,
Can you please inform where you got all your knowledge from, what books you recommend? How did you make your tomato holders? Etc. How do you save everything? What sources did you use for all of that too? Making homemade sauces, etc. and everything of your tomatoes.
At David McKinley H7R wrote,
I love it. If my cupboards were just stocked with pumpkin and sweet potatoes, I'm sure it'd be sorted and growing in Altera NZ and can grow lots of shoots, but need the right soil in a tub for tubers. I'm guessing a mix of soil, sand, and volcanic pumice here. I get lots of leaves, but no kumara or sweet potatoes. I'd love to make pallet patio boxes.
At David McKinley H7R wrote,
Oh, I learned hard way about corn. I planted popcorn. Next to Florida Sweet, the next year I had weird hybrid sweet popcorn. It used to be stunning straight off the plant. Hybrid has hard kernels like sweet corn mixed in. Maybe I made a livestock gem lol. I planted 0 corn this year and still had 1 plant pop up. I might quarantine a cob if it makes one, but otherwise it ends with me. Crown pumpkins must fill half my freezer though.
At Sonic 3826 wrote,
Interesting. You'd think more farmers would do this, or grocers, with potatoes and veggies, so they last longer and don't go bad as fast. So it's not a shortage of food, but ignorance of whoever. That's a lot of food for one year and such a small plot. That's good stuff. Trial and error, I guess some farmers that seem to know what they're doing work smarter, not harder, I guess.
At Vlad 7355 wrote,
You ladies are so nice and joyful. I wish to have neighbors like that. And this video is highly inspirational for those who are thinking to become farmers.
At Jane 3539 wrote,
This makes me feel like a total and complete idiot. I could never do something like this. Even if I had success with such a huge garden, I would never be able to actually harvest and preserve all of it.
At Stephanie Guyton 7081 wrote,
If your family doesn't like radishes, put them in vegetable soup. They cook down pretty quickly and they kind of just turn into a smoother texture potato and they just absorb the flavor of whatever they are cooked with.
At Mickle Snively 3621 wrote,
I try to grow things in Florida, and I'm having difficulty with nematodes and bugs in the ground. As a result, the plant roots are being destroyed. I'd prefer not to add pesticides to the ground. Any thoughts on bug prevention?
Jalj 1 wrote,
And great to hear from you again. I watched you when you were with your other YouTuber friend. I am Old Man 65, forgot her name. This was before you moved to Tennessee. About the corn, most farmer plant many long rows of corn, so it was like a giant plot. I have planted corn in a raised bed with squash and running beans also. About the asparagus, you can plant more than you need and only harvest half in the spring and the other half in the late summer. You let the second half grow ferns and then in late summer cut the ferns down. When the new spears appear, harvest them as if it is spring. That fresh asparagus for 6 weeks in the spring and 6 weeks in late summer.
At Mulkins 2008 wrote,
Thank you for the video. I'm going to look for those square cages, and I really feel like I'm going to add a hanky to my neck this summer to take on the gardener look. Maybe a straw hat too.
At Eric Thomas 7107 wrote,
How do you keep the deer out? They are ravenous around here. Anything not well fenced will get eaten. Years ago, before I had 8 feet fencing, they even chomped on my ripe pumpkins.
At Rickrack 4812 wrote,
Corn. That's why it's better to have multiple acres. So you can plant different corn plots at least 600 feet apart and not worry so much about cross-pollinating the wrong stuff.
At Animals Humanson Disaster wrote,
We are in Phoenix as and want to do THS. What about food zones for the trees? Wonderful that you did it from 5 to 8, but what about 9 recreations, please?
At Leslie Mix 7652 wrote,
Is there somewhere to get your garden plan for your 1/8 foot plot? I just want someone to tell me where, how many. This planning process is so incredibly overwhelming.
At Aberbrennan 2549 wrote,
Hi, Anne. Good to learn from you. Wow, in Ohio, they can grow corn to the rooftops. I am amazed, still because I always like seeing something completely new. Surprised, though, that the lady did not use the 3 friends, corn, beans, and squash method. Thank you for the video.
At Christososto 7295 wrote,
This is fantastic. Am a huge devotee. We live in the burbs. I noticed that you are using plastic bags. I have a concern for microplastics. Could I use silicone bags instead?
At Vincent Gwynn 1356 wrote,
War homeschooling and gardening with a year worth of food in storage all year round. Not many ordinary people can do it. You must be a superhuman.
At Joseph Lathrop 1914 wrote,
At Annie of all trades, her husband is probably allergic to tomatoes like me. The compound that normally causes the reaction is in the seeds and skins, and if you blanch the tomatoes then, remove the skins and de-seed them, you remove the allergen, then you can them as chunks or sauces.
Cheris Beekman wrote,
As someone who lives in a very humid part of Texas, a root cellar is not an option. What would you do if you lived in my area?
Asindra 680 wrote,
Oh, 100% agree about the damaging effect of being too rigid about perfection. I learned this in my late teens when I went through a spell of being a rigid vegetarian. I was a mess worrying about all the possible hidden sources of animal products. Once I said, forget it, I can't live like this, I adopted a flexitarian attitude, and ever since I've been pretty chill and happy. Thanks for such a great tour of a very inspiring gardening system. I've learned so much.
At Grammatica 937 wrote,
My nutritionist told me that if you have issues with tomatoes, like if you have GERD or acid reflux, that adding lots of carrots into the sauce can actually make it easier for people with a sensitive stomach to digest it. I heard you mention something about Cody, so hopefully that can also help.
At Orange Luau wrote,
Hi, love your garden. I have been a gardener for 30 years. Lots of trial and error through the years. I want to caution others about a cold frame against the house. Only do a cold frame against the base if you have a brick or rock foundation. If you put your frame against wood board on your home, you'll end up with moisture damage and termites. I know this because my mother did the same thing. Happy gardening.
At Leovit T2S wrote,
In the video, you show items stored in jars in a freeze. I would expect glass jars to break in a freezer if the contents freeze and expand.
At Gardening at Home with Sherry wrote,
What a garden. I can't get over the asparagus beds. I'm inspired to try to grow it from seed again in my garden. Thank you both for this awesome video.
At Terry Adams 7398 wrote,
I love my root cellar. My dad and brothers helped me do it. I did get to weld on some of the framework Firked roof. But my brother welded the I-beams so it wouldn't collapse. Dad taught us all to weld, I just didn't get to practice as much. We can hang an animal or cure him down there. I have an area up above for the closed stairwell to hang chile and herbs away from flies. I'm very blessed.
At Robin Hoodlum wrote,
913 me. I like radishes. If the spiciness is a problem for you, cook them like you would potatoes. Heat breaks down the pungent flavor, and they become very mild and soft, almost similar to a beet or parsnip. Great for stews and stir-fries. The tops can be used in salads, similar to arugula.
At Varietas Veritas wrote,
With a garden hose or two buried 2 feet deep, a small radiator and pump, and a small fan with HEPA filter, you could have a super cheap refrigerator with filtered air at 50 to 58 degrees.
At Caligo Varego wrote,
Some of this preservation feels pretty high-tech. Back in the day, if you lived in the village, you'd store your root veggies in dirt in the cellar, which before people got richer were commonly with dirt walls, maybe in sand if you felt like splurging. I'm very curious how it looks with racks and carrots in the bag.
At Tracy Brown 512 wrote,
Incorporating the herbs in with the vegetables are natural insect repellents and still grow healthy. I changed mine from all herb beds to blending and into vegetable beds. This brings in good insects to eat the bad.
At Debbie Epiquin 8842 wrote,
I have raised poultry, hogs and cattle over the years. Many don't think about pork, but when I stopped raising pigs, I really missed the variety they put in my freezer, and it made my beef and poultry last longer when we were lower income. Husband's DR has him thinking pork is bad, but in my gut, I know they're wrong.
At Debbie Epiquin 8842 wrote,
The grocery store tomato products, it's the chemicals they use to grow them that makes my skin red and itch. Strawberries too. I'm fine with the ones I grow.
Bay Z40 wrote,
My gosh, did I love this video? I store onions next to potatoes and am always so disappointed when my potatoes won't last. And I was thinking about a generator because my house is all electric and it is always a worry. Jackery will be far better. Thank you so much.
At Sharon Payne 8187 wrote,
I understand that the fungus is in the soil. Mine, about 1-2, were black. But still okay. They need to be moved next planting in different areas.
At Pennyapple DD 1705 wrote,
This video was both inspiring, overwhelming. I have been gardening for years, but I'm not a master of anything. I live on a 2-acre lot. 1 acre has our house and yard. The back acre is wooded. We live on a busy road, Barf, so we have our garden behind our house. The biggest issue I have is with fungus. If anybody has any tips on fungus control, I'm all ears, I'm all. I always heavily mulch. I have tried different organic fungus control sprays weekly before fungus even appears. And I always keep the leaves off the ground for my tomatoes and peppers. But my pumpkin squash always get covered in it. So do my tomatoes, my bee balm, zinnias, etc. I can never seem to get on top of it. So discouraging.
At Montenative Creations 9267 wrote,
Love this. It is amazing to me, during WW2, everyone had a victory garden. Today, everyone that has any grass or even a balcony can grow food to feed themselves. As for power, I use an EcoFlow versus Jackery. Both are awesome companies. After what happened in Texas a few years ago, I tell all owls my friends to even get a basic solar generator. Save up money and buy them on Black Friday when they are so much cheaper. Everyone needs at least one generator that can run at minimum a small fridge, a small heater or heating blanket, and charge your phones. People do not think about the fact that a gas generator is no good once you run out of gas, because roads are blocked and gas stations run on power, not to mention fighting to get to the pump or dealing with gas being rationed in an emergency. The sun is abundant and free. Everyone gets some, even in Montana. Think about the fact that Norway is a leader in solar power generation, and if they can use solar power, few states in the lower 48 have any excuse to not have a solar generator.
At XJJFJFDJDH 9993 BBHHHH5 HJJJJD wrote,
Yeah, there's no way you can get this much land in the city without contamination. You definitely need to determine pros and cons of this lifestyle. Also, if you have commitments like caregiving, it takes a lot of time. You really have to have a certain leeway to do this. Makes you really appreciate commercial farmers who raise their families at the same time.
At Coroljan Skull 7370 wrote,
Did anyone else ask? If so, sorry, I'm going to ask again. In the carrot freezer, what were all the cans? Or was that not a freezer? Was it a refrigerator?
At Jolly Ranchers 516 wrote,
I have a small garden here in Ohio. I haven't had as much success. I know soil plays a big part in everything and wondering how you amend as much as you do, and with what.
At Selena 6684 wrote,
Radishes aren't super delicious when they're raw, but when they're cooked, oh my gosh, it totally changes the game. You should try roasting them or putting them with eggs. It might not just be a cover crop anymore.
At Paul Stewart 8571 wrote,
Thanks from England. Lovely talk and superb content. I enjoyed every minute of this great video. Sub to both your channels. All the best for 2026.
At Ladik wrote,
I've learned so much about gardening and food storage from this video. I love it. I'm 30 and from my 20s started dreaming about my little piece of heaven in the form of what you show here. I can't wait to buy my own property hopefully in the next 5 years and start that good life. I already have this video saved in that dreamy playlist for the garden. Much appreciated. Thank you.
At Maricatharinrathwell 2396 wrote,
I'm like everyone else. You two women are absolutely amazing. I learned a few things and look forward to applying that knowledge this year. I look forward to watching more of your YouTube videos. Thank you so much for making your videos. They really do make a difference in many people's lives like mine.
Exwilled Adventures wrote,
I'm so grateful and thankful to have parents and grandparents that lived off the land and taught me so much. All the tips and tricks to gardening. Some I had forgot about love the need for not having a freeze dryer. Easier and simpler. That's me. The simplicity of not needing all the gadgets and gizmos that some homesteaders feel the need to have. It's just too much. Folks don't need to do all that.
Exwilled Adventures wrote,
It's all dependent on a person's location, because every person's location soil is different. I recommend folks do a soil test before planting anything, since everything requires something different from their soil, depending on what kind of soil someone has. Happy gardening.
At Jimmy Capricorn 77 wrote,
This all depends on where you live. Try living in the southwest U.S. like New Mexico or Arizona. The sun and dry heat will fry everything in the summer, and then in NM the weather is so bipolar. You can get a sunburn and frostbite all in the same week. One day it will be 19 degrees Fahrenheit, the next it will be 70 degrees. That puts many plants into shock. The dry heat just makes everything hard to grow. Now if you live everywhere else where the weather is normal, yeah, sure you can grow whatever. When I lived in Texas, I could grow almost anything out there, with most plants being able to grow in the winter as well.
At Flyit 37075 wrote,
We have a lot of white-tailed deer in my community. They will destroy a young garden in a night. Fences are not an option. How else can we stop the deer?
At Dr. Levand 9458 wrote,
My first garden in Ohio was not even close to 1/8 of an acre, but we grew such abundant crops for our family of 3. And I was a resident physician, new mom then, so I neglected the garden. Your video makes me so happy. I miss Ohio so much. We since moved to Rhode Island on 3 acres of what we didn't realize was totally infertile land. We've spent our first year trying to make the soil fertile. We're composting and strategically planting like maniacs and hydroponic gardening inside. I have a feeling we have another year where we need to solely focus in making the soil fertile.
So glad to see your garden thriving and can't wait to see what's next.
At Rekthevok wrote,
Thanks for this vid. Just getting started on the road down growing our own food, and it's so good seeing how much food can be grown on a smaller block. FYI, I think you two should make more vids together. You have a great vibe together.
At Marion Cole and L8F wrote,
So awesome. Love this so much. Also, I can't catch where she said she bought her bulk items from. Can someone tell me where she gets her bulk items from?
At Julie Hyastand 8180 wrote,
My grandpa grew everything and grandma canned or preserved everything. If they didn't do that, they went without. Because they helped settle southern Utah and there was no stores in their area, they would have to travel 400 miles to a store.
At Murdoge 425 wrote,
I love this. Someday I want to retire from my current high-stress job and homestead. So in the meantime, I watch both of you to learn as much as I can. I do make my own soap, moisturizer, tinctures, etc., and we started composting last year. Trying to add something new each year until I can retire. So far this year I am learning about ancient grains, fresh milling, storing, and sourdough bread.
At Aubriella Rivera 6098 wrote,
I would love to just have a knowledgeable neighbor friend like this to help me learn with my hands for a year or two. If I could invest the time and money to do this, without failing, I would commit.
At Gwendolyn Robinson 3900 wrote,
I grew up in Minnesota where practically every house has a basement. And now that I live in Texas, I yearn for basements again. I need to ask around how people achieve a similar environment to cold store crops.
At Neural Atrophy wrote,
4:45 This part with the fan is called winnowing, if anyone wanted some trivia. 9:12 I love radishes. Dark rye, which is unfortunately stupidly hard to find around here. Thin spread of margarine. Slice your radishes up and apply. Salt to taste. Learned it from my grandma. The big thing I'm interested in is the preservation methods. Easy, practical, scalable methods for preserving a larger quantity of staples for easy and long-term storage. Growing is technically the easy part. You try a thing, and you see the results pretty quickly. With preservation, you take that work, and if you mess it up, you lose it and you don't save any money for the effort.
At Matt U8SP wrote,
In a good and just world, these things would and should be teached to all children in school. It should be a requirement by law. You are amazing, and I hope to get to a point in life where I can do this for my family and start teaching others, family, friends, and neighbors. We all need each other in these times.
And Hurricane Hunter wrote,
I lost 3 years of harvest and half a cow when 2 of my freezers went bad at once while we were out of town for a week. Power didn't go out, it was just sheer bad luck.
As Sabrina Aguilera 4908 wrote,
I just came across this channel, and since I've always wanted to live in a piece of land and grow my own stuff, was so interested. I love it, but you said who likes radishes? Well, I do, my husband does. Lol, of course, not just eat them by themselves. I love them in my sandwiches, salads, tacos. We them abs this channel. I subscribed.
At Nikinuna 4424 wrote,
Can we have a floor plan of how this is done, please?
Great to see you come in the UK and have a couple allotment plots, 50 FT by 50 FT.
We'd love to be able to manage this space better.
Colors Change wrote,
So informative, I heard of a family killed by potatoes left in a cellar. They would go check on one another and die, except the last person. I make homemade laundry soap. I do use a store-bought detergent to stretch it, as the soaps our grandmothers used will destroy our machines due to build up. It still lasts a long time, and vinegar for fabric softener.
At SS 31736 wrote,
Great setup. But why do folks like chest freezers so much? Uprights are better for seeing what you have. Is it a cost thing? Chests are cheaper.
At Rose by Any Other Name S3V wrote,
I don't know how I stumbled on this video, but you ladies are absolutely brilliant. And what a beautiful way of life. I'm inspired to start some gardening in my little apartment and dream of a plot of land someday.
The Super One Name wrote,
558 I have started following both of you after seeing this video. It's the first I've seen from either of you, and you are both just so positive in a natural and warm way. You clearly have a love for gardening, and this collaboration was a pleasure to watch. You were actually listening to each other, not just listening for the next time you could talk. No boasting or gatekeeping, lots of tips, and the interview style was perfect. I generally don't enjoy these types of collaborations because the vibe always seems off, but you two nailed it, in my opinion. Letting the questions and topics and tour flow naturally and bringing the conversation to real-world scenarios makes me feel like part of the experience rather than a bystander.
At Hollydats Apollo's 7998 wrote,
This is a great video, full of information. Thank you. I see she has chickens, but that her family doesn't like radishes. My chickens ate all of my radishes. I had them for a companion plant. My chickens had other ideas. Her chickens might like a radish treat.
At Tracy Milburn 5967 wrote,
You need to talk about the soil. What type of soil, chemical makeup of the soil, any amendments to the soil, etc. Very interested in the soil, please.
At Anthony DiNaramo 8792 wrote,
Funny enough, I also get heartburn from tomato products and citric acid I suspected. Making my own sauce is what piqued my interest in gardening and making fresh bread at home. Still sad I can no longer eat my Sour Patch Kids without it coming after me with a vengeance.
At Ruth Johnson 546 wrote,
Thank you for sharing. This is so encouraging for someone who wants to get there one day. I get discouraged thinking too far ahead and how much it would cost, but this has me excited to work with what I have currently. This was awesome. I look forward to checking out more content in the future.
At Lalapris 4254 wrote,
I don't know why this showed up on my feed. This is the first video I've seen of home gardens and self-sufficiency, and I'm amazed. You talked about fruits and vegetables, which was expected, then chickens, then soaps. You could have kept going if you had more time. What I love most is the fact that your kids are eating right and growing up with all this knowledge and life skills that will stay with them for life.
At Earth and Dust wrote,
The food storage is what I'm having a hard time finding in one succinct description. In the South, it's really hot and we don't have cellars, basements, or cool rooms. So it's a challenge. 6 feet down is our water table, so digging is not an option unless you need a well D.
Cardnut Saucy wrote,
I love these two women and have been following them both for a long time. I think that not only do you obtain good food at a more reasonable price, but you know what you're getting. Also, the healthy mind and body is a bonus. All those people who go, oh yeah, save $5 for 3 months of work for a couple of tomatoes, just don't get it. And by the way, those tomatoes taste like tomatoes should.
At Johnny Blackburn 3182 wrote,
My brother has asparagus he dug up the roots from ditches on the sides of roads. The stalks are as thick as your thumb, but they're so tender and delicious.
At Johnny Blackburn 3182 wrote,
Wish I'd known about pillow whacking dry beans. As kids, we were tasked with shelling giant bags of peas and beans my dad would bring home. Good thing there were 6 of us kids.
At RDMD 999 wrote,
There's nothing quite as satisfying as entering into a well-organized space. I've never seen a home pantry that radiates so much feng shui. I could literally spend hours of meditation in there.
At David Miner 7233 wrote,
Impossible. 1/8 of an acre is less than a house and garage. Our garden on our 1,600 square meters property does provide 2 of us with some fruit and vegetables, but only in season plus what we preserve. The 2 sacks of potatoes only last 6 months, etc. Why exaggerate? There are benefits in a home garden, but it is not elastic.
At Mike Vanderman 2727 wrote,
I just got a 4-po and T13 acres from my aunt and was wondering what in the world can I do with it. Even though I have no idea how to achieve this, I will strive towards it. I already subscribed. I think that's the first step. Thanks so much for the million ideas and motivation in this one video.
At Unoffendable 3496 wrote,
Definitely my style of farming. What a beautiful pantry. It's horrible to think what one earthquake could do to all of that beautiful food. Please consider this is the best video I've seen yet for my needs. I'm going to save this and share it with my family.
At Rudy K3H8M wrote,
Radish also good in vegetable soup with bone broth scraps of meat, and all the last of the veggies you don't. Can for the winter with carrots, kale, collard, Swiss chard. As you eat it down, keep adding to it for 3 days and at the end of 3 days, what is left over freezer asparagus can grow all winter by diatom powder from the nursery or Ace Hardware. Put 1 sprinkle around spot where asparagus is growing, layer of potting soil, do 3 times, make large plastic teepee inside, place 6-inch thick layer of straw, fix a door on teepee held in place by Velcro tabs. Get at Walmart, and for top of teepee place a 30-gallon trash bag, and when snow hits wait 4 days, check asparagus. By lifting up straw to look for asparagus growth. If you are worried about bugs, they must travel through 3 layers of diatom and get cut to pieces, and your asparagus is protected. If you don't see asparagus, check every 4 days. Once you see asparagus, invite your friends over for dinner and tell them you grow asparagus in the snow, and nothing could be further from the truth.
At the Frost Arch 3R wrote,
Hey, Missouri native here. We grew 24 shoots of sweet potatoes last year and came away with over 400 pounds of sweet potatoes. Had a single potato clicking 27 pounds. Secret here is super fluffy, deep soil mounds. They will grow as big as they have room, so make the soil fluffy. The other important thing is black plastic. They love the heat, and weeds are so annoying with sweet potatoes, so the black plastic is incredible for them. Hope this helps.
And them Heels wrote,
If you did that in Canada, the Liberal government would first fine you into poverty. Then you would have your land seized and banks frozen. In Canada, you support the race of the weak, big grocery, big energy, big oil, big farm, and you stay current on your arm toxin from Bill Microsoft.
At George Washington Laser Musket wrote,
Just wondering, it'd take special considerations, but have either of you heard of anyone using an ozone generator during the process to kill off any bacteria, fungi, etc.? It's safe as in as long as you either vent or let the O2 react and calm down. But if you breath in O2, when it's still zesty, it can cause serious damage to you, as the way it kills bacteria and fungi are the same way it messes up our lungs, etc. Likewise, have you ever considered ozoning buckets of beans, rice, etc., then sealing them, so even after the O2 calms down into normal oxygen, it'll be in a sanitized, sealed environment? Kinda like how cooking canning works together, but without the heat.
Astasicahela 6680 wrote,
Hi, name is Stacy. I just now ran across your channel. I've something new from you and More Than Farmer. And I am inscribed both your channels.
At one Amaresra wrote,
I really like her relaxed approach. Some homesteaders are so creepy competitive and stressful. I am wondering though, is really 1/8 of an acre? I'm searching for land now and want to make sure I can get as little as I can get sway with.
At Only Curious wrote,
If you really want to feed your family full nutrition, you really need to go for some crops that the industry has maligned as weeds. Tufa and duckweed are both complete. Protein duckweed is the most protein-rich thing in existence, denser protein than beef by dry weight. Also has B12. Jerusalem artichoke sunchoke is really good too.